you feed your last haul, motherfucker.
Hello YouTube, welcome back to another Xabio Arts tutorial. I hope you're having a great day today. This will be the end result of what we're making in this video. I'll be using a free drawing software called Krita, and with the techniques used in this guide, your drawing tablet doesn't matter. That's right, you could easily follow this guide with a mouse if you really wanted to. There's no painting involved in this guide, no color theory, pretty brainless. I did put some more advanced tips at the end as an extra bonus, but those are optional and it's really just to put those extra style sprinkles on your drawing if you so choose. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll go over those at the end. For now, let's start at the beginning. Here we go. Oh, I'm excited. Okay, let's disappear all these layers. Okay, we're starting with a square canvas, 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. Next thing I do is I take a little pencil-y brush. It's kind of see-through, kind of grayish. Oh, here it is, my little pencil brush right here. Where you at? There we go. Pencil 1 hard is the one that I used. Cool, so now that I got my little Kermit guy, we can move on to the line art. Now you can refine these lines as many times as you want. What I'm gonna do right here is bring the opacity down to about, I don't know, 20% or something. Basically just so that, pretend like you kind of erased it all lightly with an eraser, if this was a paper, right? And then on another layer, a separate layer, you do the ink drawing. Now this one, I didn't really worry about line quality. And I think this is a good example. It kind of, these lines are, let me zoom in. These lines are super squiggly and kind of bad, to be honest. But that's fine because when the whole piece is like that, it kind of gives it some energy and character. And because I have this little base underneath, I know where the main shapes are going to go. If I just kind of follow that sort of halfway, then I know that it's going to end up looking right. So it's just a matter of, you know, putting in some of these details like with the boots and stuff. And if you need a reference, go on Google Images or something and look at cowboy boots or look at cowboy hat or something, you know what I mean? Even hands, you can literally just take somebody else's hand pose and put it on here. I'm sure if you've been to my channel before, you've probably seen my hand tutorials. That's probably where you found me. Alright, so now that we got our squiggly little line, we can go ahead and hide the sketch layer behind it. So it's just this little line art. Now, once we're at this stage, we're basically in the coloring book phase. It's basically a blank coloring book, and we have to take it from that and make it look like this. How are we gonna do that? Well, first things first, okay? We color them in. How did we get these colors? What are you doing? Well, hold on. I know you don't want to worry about color theory, so I just searched color palette on Google Images. And then I scrolled down and found this little guy. I don't know who it belongs to. Apparently it's from Pinterest. Cool. So I ripped that from Google Images and then slap right onto there. And then I'll use those colors. Now you'll notice the inside of his mouth is yellow and his little neck thing is also yellow. That's not normally the color that I would make it, but I'm adhering to the color palette. So we'll see what happens. It turns out good, I promise. Alright, next. What was the next thing I did? Oh, yeah. Next thing I did is just a layer of dirt and sky on a layer beneath everything else. And I chose the yellowish color because I wanted to have a slightly darker color as the shadow here. And you can see that I put that shadow right there. So basically it's just dirt and sky on that bottom layer. Okay, so now on a layer on top of that bottom layer, underneath, you're gonna make a gradient. And to do this, go to the gradient tool right here. We'll pick that color right here, control click this, and then you just drag it down. Now you have sky. Congratulations. So that's what I did there for the sky. Then the next layer on top of that, I just added some random shapes to make kind of like a deserty dirt texture. To do that, I grabbed this lasso tool over here, and then I just went, right? And then I filled it in with Shift backspace. You can look up in whatever program you're doing to fill it, or if you can't do that, go to your brush tool, increase the brush size, and then you can color it in like that. So basically I just made a few like horizontally random shapes, put them on there, good to go. Great. And I did the same thing with little chunks of badly shaped grass. Beautiful. All right. Now for the clouds. How do we do the clouds? Okay, stay with me. These are the clouds that we're making. You might think to yourself, okay, what about the blending stuff? How do you do that with a mouse? Easy, actually. So you start out with this kind of shape. Let me get rid of this color palette. Start out with this ugly shape, right? And then go to your smudgy tool. You'll have to look through your brushes. You'll have like, this one's called the Blender Blur, I guess. I feel like every drawing program should have some sort of blending type brush. And you don't need pressure sensitivity. I'm going to use my mouse for this. I don't have a camera on me. You're just going to have to trust me. Here we go. Ready? Just kind of click and drag it along. And you can leave a couple of spaces sharp so that it kind of gives it a little bit of life to it. There's some soft edges and some hard edges. Make some little wispy shapes here. Good to go. Great. Do that with all of the clouds. All right, and then you'll end up with something kind of like this. Now for the finishing touches, where it all comes to life, where it all goes from basic to making people think that you know what you're doing. These next couple of things are optional, but they will make the piece go from this to this. Okay? Adding a little bit of texture, some color cohesion, and if you zoom in, you'll see that the lines are kind of, has that like glitchy effect, right? But speaking of advanced tips on a tutorial that walks you through the digital art process, I want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Well, I took a class on Skillshare by Vashti Harrison called Illustrating in Procreate, Drawing a Shareable Time-Lapse, and in that video, she basically said that if you're struggling creatively, don't forget that your drawings can be building out your childhood fantasy worlds. That kind of stuck with me because adult me can be very cynical sometimes, but little me is still in there, asking adult me for permission to express himself. I've been very neglectful to my inner child lately. Skillshare offers thousands of educational videos for creative and curious people on topics like illustration, design, music production, photography, video freelancing, and more, with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions. Most classes are under 60 minutes with short lessons to fit any schedule. There are no ads, and they're always launching new premium classes. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. You can squeeze a lot out of that free trial. You can cancel anytime, and if you decide to keep learning with Skillshare, it's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. Now, for those optional advanced tips on my cute little precious cowboy Kermit here, let's finish him up. These are totally optional and extra. I'm just going to walk you through them anyway, just in case. Okay, here we go. Okay, first thing we do is we get an image of static. What we're going to do is we're going to decrease the opacity to about 30% or something, and we're going to set that blending mode to burn. And that is going to give these transitions some nice like pixely effects to it, and it's going to give him some subtle little texture on his little Muppet body. Well, everything else too. You can play around with different images of static. You can also play around with different blending modes and different opacities to go with whatever drawing you're making specifically. Sometimes you might need to adjust it, like if your painting is a lot darker, or if your painting is a lot lighter, you might need to adjust the opacity or something. Or hit Control U, go into lightness and darkness. and you can adjust that there. But basically you just want to put an image of static onto a blending mode and decrease the opacity. This one happens to be burn. Okay. After you're all done with that, there's one last thing that we can do, which is to get these little glitchy line effects right here. Okay. So this is something called chromosome aberration. That's not what it's called. What's it called? Chromatic aberration. There we go, baby. This is what we're doing. That looks so fancy. It's not hard, I promise. All right, let's get it. First things first. You're gonna select all of these layers that you've done, right? Shift to click, just like you do files on your computer, to do that with your layers. And then you hit Control G or right click and group. Yeah, there you go. And then it'll be in a group like this, right? So you can toggle that on and off. Now that you have this in your group, you're gonna go Control J to duplicate that group. Now to merge it together, you can either do right click, merge group right here, or do whatever shortcut it is, Control E or whatever. And you'll have that whole group, all of your layers as one flat image. You can go ahead and hide this group if you want. This is just one flat image. We're gonna duplicate that image, okay? Now we're going to do our chromosome aberration. Chromatic aberration. In different programs, it's a different way to get to it. In Krita, it's right-clicking, going to Properties, and then you're going to uncheck two of these so that only one color is checked and your alpha is checked. This is under Channels. So in Photoshop, it's also under Channels. It should probably be under something like Channels in your other drawing programs. I don't know why this messes it up right here. If it's set to darken, just put that little baby to normal. All right, hit OK. And boom, nothing happens. Oh my God, you ruined the whole thing. Your tutorial doesn't work. It does, just wait. Zoom in, and then move it over just a few pixels. Don't do too much. I suppose you could do this craziness. If you really, really, really wanted to stylize that out, totally can, up to you. Do it however much you want. I want some of those lines to be showing through, so that's what we're gonna end at. And that, my friends, is how we go through that whole process. Also, I want to do a big shout out, thank you very much to my supporters on Patreon. You guys are amazing. I love doing these live streams with you, having our chats, playing video games and stuff. It's a wonderful, wonderful time. I kind of cut out the part where I stared at the floor for about 30 seconds trying to figure out something else to say. So, I hope it helps. I really, really, really hope it helps. Have a good day. Bye-bye. I love you.